Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have arrived at week 7 of the Upsurge Contenders League. We have an Infernal Division matchup between Recon 5 Scarlet, who are the top dogs at the moment, against Phoenix Carnage, who are looking to shore up some standings going into the playoffs. I am Lemons, joined with my good friend Rebel Fox for the Lemon Fox duo. I know I kind of stole that away from Milky, but hey, how you doing today, man?
Doing fantastic. Glad to be back with you. It's been a little while. I think both of us knew that was the case coming into this one. And what a matchup we get to reunite on. As you said, number one in the Infernal Division is Recon 5, playing up against a really tightly contested race for the top ratio. It's not really a race for playoffs, more so that race for the playoff seeding. A lot of those teams 4-0, 4-2 or 5-1 in the top of this one really have command of the playoff race. It's just about where they're going to land now in these last 2 weeks.
Oh, and also with the way that the meta has evolved these last couple of weeks, just right in time for all the juiciest matchups. And you gotta love it because there's so many picks on the table. There's so many things that these teams can pull out. And that is what I'm so excited for today.
Yeah, I love watching the way, especially things like Volibear slipping into the meta as another pick. I think Set has kind of fallen out, but is still kind of in the area. Ornn in that top lane, and then plenty of things throughout mid, plenty of things throughout the bottom lane. Somehow Aphelios is still around despite all of the nerfs he's taken, and so we get to see kind of favoritism here from both teams. It's a lot of both what's good right now and what you've been practicing, as well as what you're able to play in your back pocket, kind of those preferred picks in general as well.
It really is, and how that all plays into the strategies and whatnot. You know, we always talk about it as well going into best of 3. That is the beauty of it, is that you get to evolve your draft throughout the day and throughout the process there. But it's really going to be a good showing here in the last couple of weeks to put your best foot forward. Come out with the strategies that are working for you and come out with something that's going to show off your strength so that you can give these teams something to fear.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see, especially these two teams that should still be competing for those playoff positions. I mean, Recon 5 sits at the top, but it's not like they're super far ahead of their opposition here. I think they're actually tied for number 1 in this. So winning this series, especially since they've played a lot of the other top teams at the moment, is a big deal because winning this series would put them in a phenomenal position to end the season in that number 1 position. Whereas, I mean, obviously the win here coming through for the side of Phoenix Carnage, it throws a wrench into the works. You have multiple teams sitting potentially at that 5-2 mark coming into the final week, and then it's going to come down to every one of those individual games. And I think this series going to be really indicative not only of who deserves to be at the top spot, but how they do coming into playoffs as well.
I just love that late season air, that smell you get, and the wonder and excitement that comes through in these seasons. It's just a wonderful time. And we are getting into the picks and bans. We have Recon 5 on the blue side with Phoenix on the red. First pick taken away is that Graves.
Making sure that's not going to come through. I think recently, especially with Death Stance changes and a bit of nerfs to the Graves pick, it's fallen out of just pure red side ban, but it's still strong enough to first pick. So I'm not shocked to see Recon 5 take that one away. I'm a little shocked that the Set red side ban first overall. Typically things, Varus, you're seeing Syndra, you're seeing Callista, you're seeing even Volibear in certain circumstances slip into that first set of bans. And so that's kind of pinched off. The question is, what do they let slip through? What is Recon 5 now practice for here?
And that's exactly what we're going to have to find out as we get through this draft. Now, Senna is the response here in the second ban for Recon 5, so they're going to have a little bit of a change in priorities there. Syndra is the takeaway for Phoenix, so taking away that staple mid laner that we've seen so much of recently.
And Putney's so good at it. Putney loves it. So not shocking to see Phoenix Carnage want to take that one away. The Senna is really interesting. I think it's a lot more niche of a bot laner, but Can't Carry and Phoenix run that really well because both of them can play the champion in space for the most part. So happy to see that. Or my apologies, Phoenix Carnage's bot lane is the one that runs that one. I'm actually a little shocked because I know Phoenix has run that in the past as well, but banning out really heavily the bottom lane on the second half of this ban phase for Scarlet, giving the respect over to Fakey, Rush, and Brash.
Yeah, man, there comes the Thresh, as you were saying, but the Volibear is the last ban in the first phase here for Phoenix, and that sets us up for a potentially pivotal first pick here. Recon 5 going to take the Ezreal, and we know what Ezreal likes to go with typically. There are some other options, but, you know, the tried and true is on the table still.
I do think that you can run with pretty much anything at the support role with an Ezreal, which is nice, but Varus is still available here for Phoenix Carnage. My question
That's what I'm looking at.
Are they first in it, and are they capable of taking it here? Obviously, you don't have the absolute godsend. The Olaf first pick here for Phoenix Carnage would be interesting because now you're worried about, what do they have behind it? Do they run the Yuumi here? I know it got nerfed, but still super terrifying when attached to something like that. Olaf and more picks like the Karma potentially thrown into the mid lane, pretty much sandbags that lane and helps control the river really heavily with the Olaf pick early on. I'm curious now, Phoenix Carnage, they kind of throw the gauntlets down. Ezreal versus Olaf is not an easy one for Ezreal when you have that Ragnarok on.
It isn't, and we're going to see the Callista locked in here. So very surprised. And we talked a little bit about it beforehand, about the Varus and different options there. And nobody's going to go for it this time around. But the Callista comes through looking for all of that wonderful rend damage. And really interested to see what they're going to try to pair it up with here. There's so many options available on the table still for Recon 5, though. They can kind of pick and choose here, and they need to find a solution against this Olaf.
I think they have to go, part of one of their lanes, and obviously the Orianna now locked in. Yeah. The important part about this is that you now have to control some of top side. You're going to lose bottom side. Callista has better wave clear, better trading, easier dragon control than something like the Ezreal, alongside Olaf, who already wins most 1v1 matchups early on. You do get the combination of Orianna, Jarvan, so now the drafted team fight is succeeded here for Recon 5 alongside the Ezreal, who gets to do the proverbial, shoot the fish in the barrel when you have the cataclysm down. All too easy for him to drop damage.
Very, very true. I honestly am really liking this composition coming through from Recon 5 so far. But the pieces that are going to fall into place here for Phoenix are what interests me the most, because you do have a pretty set out strategy coming together for Recon 5 here, and for Phoenix it's a little bit different than that. They do take the Taric here, so still that very, very strong combination, and that team fight potential is going to be so scary with the Olaf, the Taric, and then Callista to back everything up, and that's only 3 pieces of the team.
I'm really curious now, especially on the side of Recon 5, with this Taric locked in, if they're willing to do something super aggressive at the support role, something like Vel'Koz, maybe. I know it's run a little bit by the side of Phoenix, but specifically, I mean, the Callista Taric will probably not have a lot of kill pressure against the Ezreal, so what I'd like to see is something that pokes these two down, gets a little bit of wave priority, but more specifically provides even more team fight damage, because right now, you don't have a winning lane in the bottom side, and you're not going to have a winning lane in mid lane with the Orianna, most likely. You're playing more towards that later game or around the objective fights. You take something aggressive, take something damage-based in the support role, it's not likely to go punished unless you bring the Olaf bottom lane a lot, which is already going to happen. You play with range, you play defensive, you should be fine there anyway.
Exactly that, and we do get to finally see these picks coming through, or the bans, at least the last bans, as Leona Aatrox were the takeaways for Phoenix, and Kled Twisted Fate the takeaways for Recon 5.
They don't want Phoenix Carnage taking this early team and just clustering it a lot faster.
Yeah.
That top lane moves fast, you take Twisted Fate, not only does it control the lane a lot better than Orianna, but it roams a lot faster, and I think that's important. So does Phoenix Carnage take something here that can make roams, make things of this plays? And the Echo, kind of a good response. Decent wave push, not great wave push, so it's not something like the Twisted Fate that just completely controls the map state, but you do have much better scaling and a lot better safety when you run those types of dives into bottom lane towers.
And there's just so many snowball options, I feel like, right here for Phoenix, that we've all seen an Echo that gets ahead and just dances all over you, all over Summoner's Rift. It just gets ridiculous, and the amount of burst damage that can come out from an Echo is what you're looking for, and that provides that extra spark in their team fight here. The Bard response, though, for Recon 5 is something I actually really like.
Yeah, the ability to roam, a little bit of harassment from range, good damage, and good setup specifically for the team fight. You use that Cosmic Radiant, or the ultimate, I don't remember if that's called Cosmic Radiance or not, but you do drop it. You're able to set up the Cataclysm, the Orianna Ball, anything else, and pick champions off to some extent. Now, the final champion, again, I'd like to see something that matches with this team fighting, and the Gnar makes a lot of sense. It's been rising into most top laners. It's not a bad blind pick. It is weak to certain picks. The Aatrox is the big one that I came to mind. Mordekaiser's another one that can take the fight against Mega Gnar as well. But certainly, you throw a Gnar into a composition that's designed around team fighting, especially this big AoE team fight, you're going to find some success.
You really are, and the synergy is finally really showing through here for Recon 5. I mean, you have Bard being able to get the stuns off with the Cataclysm, so that's going to be another big thing to look at. It's a little bit smaller of a piece, but I think it is going to be pretty integral. But you have the Orianna ball thrown in the middle of it with the Jarvan, and then on top of everything, you throw a very, very scary feline animal in there with a big Rage Bard. He throws you against the wall that has been created. So I think that combination is just going to be super scary. And it goes well against this big team fight composition that Phoenix have put together, although they have a lot of strong pieces themselves, as they had gotten that Wukong in as the last pick for themselves. And the amount of damage coming out from this team right now is ridiculous.
I think both teams, they're running a ridiculous amount of damage. I think of all of the champions picked in this game, 9 of them are going to have AP and AD in their build. Outside of maybe the Taric, who might even build a little bit of AP, depending on what the build path is, whether he goes more Enchanter or not. I think you look at these teams on a macro scale, and you think to yourselves, Phoenix Carnage should run the early game for the most part. Recon 5's later game team fight looks really good and looks a lot easier to kind of execute on, especially with the Ezreal damage far outclassing Kalista damage. The one problem I have here, one wrench that could be thrown into Recon 5's late game plan, is Brash's Taric. That ultimate is game changing. And if you deny the damage from Shockwave, the damage from Cataclysm, the Gnar ultimate, or you allow Echo or Wukong access to the backline, it could be all over. And I think that's Phoenix Carnage's plan. If you win early, you can take the fights because you have gold to check with. If you don't get the massive advantage you're looking for, rely on that Taric ultimate to set your fights for you, and you can still take late game team fights with that supplementation. I think that cooldown is going to be the thing to watch as the late game progresses.
It's going to be a super pivotal part to these big team fights and everything like that. The other thing I'm kind of looking at here that I've been thinking about a little bit more is the mobility that Phoenix has put together for their composition. We were talking about the Cosmic Radiance, those things kind of helping for the balance of the team fights, but you do have the ins and outs of the Echo and the Wukong. I mean, that's so deadly there, especially against the weaker opponents. But you do only have a few options in that regard. Now, when you did say earlier that Recon 5 do have a lot of damage themselves, I am getting giddy like a little kid on Christmas over here, Rebel, at the amount of things I'm gonna have to yell out in this game. I mean, the fireworks that are gonna be present. We're getting close to 4th of July. It's perfect timing.
It certainly is. I mean, with July 4th right around the corner, I don't think you get a lot more fireworky than these types of compositions. You're talking about a Taric Wukong composition into an Orianna Jarvan composition. You don't get a lot of it. The Wombo combos are certainly going to be there for both teams. You talked about mobility on the side of Phoenix Carnage, and I think that's a big point to talk about. Echo's ability to dive, Wukong's ability to dive, that Ragnarok, all really good. My question is, how well does Recon 5 actually turn? And I think they turn well. Again, Bard's ultimate, Gnar's ultimate, even the Cataclysm combined with Shockwave, these are all things you have to respect if you're on the side of Phoenix Carnage. If it's me, you got to find better flank angles, and that's not easy to set up sometimes. That's where your early game pressure has to be applied at. If you don't get 5,000-6,000 gold by the 25-30 minute mark, and you can't just like waltz in and do anything you want, then here's what you got to do. You take the early pressure on the map, you shove your waves in, get that warding down, and make sure that you have ways for the Echo and the Wukong to enter the fight so they can't be responded to by the likes of the Bard, the Gnar, or the Ezreal.
And the vision game is just so important, especially in compositions like these. When you get those flanks, those big opportunities to get something going, which I expect to see some TPs across the board here, at least to get some of those catalyst moments that you're really looking for. And that, honestly, I'm looking a little bit more towards Phoenix for maybe a couple extra TPs in there, because I think they could have a really, really nice snowball, as you said, trying to get this train rolling early. And it's really going to be about like Recon 5's response to this and how they try and weather the storm that is this composition. Yeah,
I think Recon 5 with JJ Rod have actually given themselves an opportunity to fight back in some senses. So Putty's Orianna, you can trade. Again, your wave clear actually isn't bad into the likes of Echo early, so he's not going to be able to walk around the map like you would with something like maybe the LeBlanc or the Lysandre that has good wave clear and a lot of mobility to work with. Bottom lane, you still have the stun from Barb and a lot of poke damage to put onto a melee champion like the Taric. And even top lane, Gnar sets up really well. I don't think Olaf has that same kind of setup. Hard to set up an Echo gank. Wukong needs the ultimate to get in a lot of damage, so it's the Callista Taric you're aiming for. So I expect anticipation, control the bottom side, get that early dragon control, try to get some of the early gold in this team's pocket, and then deny JJ Rod's ability to get somebody going. If you get the Gnar going, the Ezreal going, team fights start to look a lot worse in the mid game. Control Jarvan, gank for bottom side, take your dragons, get your gold advantage, walk into that mid game with that, and use your warding and try to win from there.
Well, we'll have to see which team came prepared to lay it all on Summoner's Rift today and take game number 1 in this best of 3. Right on the other side of this break, we do have Recon 5 versus Phoenix Carnage. But before that, we have a message from our sponsors at Sector 6.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity. We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
Welcome back, everyone. We have made it onto Summoner's Rift. We have made the trek, and the journey is now complete. We get to watch action unfold in front of us. I am Lemons, joined by Rebel Fox again, as we get to see both these teams hit this series, hopefully with a lot of fireworks, as we were saying before.
I'm sure we'll get plenty of that in this one. Again, plenty of playoff implications, plenty of solid play from them all season. I expect a really high ELO, high-looking matchup here between these, given that they're two of the best that we have in the Infernal Division, and especially with these team fighting compositions they've designed, I'm sure we're going to get some exciting play.
And I got my favorite thing. We got TPs across the board. TPs in top lane, TPs in mid lane. We're going to get all those nice and juicy playmaking abilities there as well. So that's what I'm super excited about. But the other thing that I'm super excited about is to see how this matchup goes between Putney and Laurent. As I do think it's going to have such a big impact on the way that this game plays out, especially if the junglers want to provide some focus towards this mid lane, get some roaming going for Laurent on this Echo, and just see how that kind of affects the rest of the map in general.
The Echo right now, in my mind, is a pivotal threat, I think, also to the late game. If he gets onto Can't Carry, gets onto Putney, and gets onto an untransformed Hibernation, there's plenty of damage that the Echo is capable of bringing and not really risking much, with that ultimate being the ultimate escape tool. And the bubble also makes for a really, really clean way to set up fights, especially around the AoEs that you're looking for here. Say the Cataclysm's up, something like that. Hibernation wants to jump in, you zone him away with that bubble. And so the Echo's really important in that regard, but can also get effects early in the game with that. We do get a pause here.
We do. We have an unfortunate disconnect, but it looks like we could be getting done pretty quickly. Gotta say, there's some hot cocoa waiting there for Putney. Gonna have a little extra loving coming from Phoenix in the bot side. He got a couple things of cocoa just floating around in his lane, and you always love to see that, because that means that Putney's gonna have an even better time at like sustaining in lane, being able to stay a little bit longer and try and keep up with Laurent, and just make sure to keep tabs on him especially.
This has been really popular on Bard recently, especially like at the professional level. We see Bards do this a lot. You start that W, and I remember when I first started playing Bard back in the day, the really popular thing to do would be to drop it in the jungle for your jungler to keep the health high. But recently it's been laners. You take that early aggressive trading pattern, autos, abilities, whatever you need to do. Even if you're taking a bunch of damage from minions or from the opponent, then you're going to still be higher health because of that heal pack that you've been left there. So now Putney, he shouldn't be sitting back in this wave. He should be sitting forward. Use these empowered autos and disabilities on this Orianna, and use those heal packs to your advantage. Press that heal pack advantage. You've got 200 health sitting right there for you. It's like an extra health pot for free. That's
exactly what I was going to point out. Is we do need to see if we're going to see Putney take that advanced positioning and try and do something that's going to be a little bit more aggressive in that lane, but not yet. And not so far. We'll have to see how that all pans out, though. And with the junglers, just kind of farming away. I don't expect anything too crazy to go off here very early, but I do expect a little bit more trading here in the bot side and the top especially. But looking at the state that these junglers are in, where they are wanting to look, I don't think that they're going to get the path that they're looking for, at least in this moment. And they're going to have to wait and farm up. And Olaf is always loving to farm all day long.
Yeah, certainly better at it than I think the Jarvan, especially early on in the game with that enhanced attack speed. And what I'm imagining here is JJ Rod was coming around the bottom side, anticipating maybe push to come out from the likes of the Taric and Kalista, which is happening right here, which was anticipated. This wave got pushed in as the warding was set up to allow them better access to the river, and then also the denial, of course, of the gank coming through from the Jarvan. And they're going to be able to catch him as he moved through the river, so they have perfect information on where this Jarvan's going to be, which allows Olaf to one in and look for a counter jungle, as you're seeing right now. He's going to get this wolf camp, and believe it or not, it was actually a full clear from anticipation. There's nothing left for the Jarvan to respond to, so just a quick advantage taken here from the Olaf.
It is, and a lot of time wasted there for JJ, just kind of wandering around the enemy jungle. Did pull down Putney as well, but they're just going to have to find somewhere else to farm up, as we do finally see Anticipation taking the Gromp as well, so he's taking 2 camps over there on the other side. And luckily at that moment JJ's camps on the enemy side did respawn, so he's able to get a little bit of gold for himself. Still haven't used the Coco in the mid lane for Putney.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked to see him not do that. Actually, really interesting. They knew that the entrance had come through from the Jarvan. They're going to push him out of this jungle to make sure it doesn't come through, which would have been a big loss because Anticipation's camps would have been level 2 versus the level 1 Wolf camp and the level 2 Gromp just taken by Anticipation. But the denial of that Wolves means that you lose an entire level 2 camp here to the likes of the Olaf. I like the defense from Brash and from Fakey Rush as well as from Orentia, knowing that that is going to come through from the Jarvan, knowing that he hadn't left the jungle yet and pushing that pressure.
And it's not a lot, but I mean, he's 10 plus CS here in the jungle this early on. That's a good amount. That's some extra gold being put in the pockets of the Olaf there. So he's going to be feeling really good as just a staple here in this game and just a very strong strength here for Phoenix. But then you do got to look at this top lane a little bit. Hibernation is starting to get a little bit of the better end of Blaze and get some good trades going up here. So we could be possibly seeing some extra strength be put into Hibernation up towards the top side. But it looks like we have some shenanigans going on around the Dragon Pit here.
The big thing was Laurentiu ended up getting a faster back because he took one directly after invading or counter-invading against what was JJ Rod's movement. And so from that, the push had come through from Putney, the counter push comes through, and that means Anticipation on the same back time as JJ Rod didn't have the support or had the support of his jungler, so they just walked to river and immediately take it. Not shocking to see because, as we know, Olaf on this pick has more gold than his opposition. He has the support of his mid laner and the pushing bot lane, as you see right here. There is no disadvantage, and this is the control that we expected to come out from this team.
Yeah.
They knew for a fact their composition was going to dominate early, and they're getting what they have drafted for exactly.
And just all falling into place seemingly here for Phoenix early on. And honestly, a little bit surprised we haven't gotten too much action in the mid lane, especially from Laurent, but it could change here pretty soon. I do have to say that one thing I respect in this game is the mid laners have been willing to roam and be there for their junglers. Every time we see something potentially going on, they are there, they're responding in time. So that is something I like to keep an eye on and make sure the communication is all there. As we're going to see Laurent try to go and doesn't get the stun from the parallel convergence, so he's just going to walk away. Nice little thumbs up comes up from his support on his team. Just say, good job, man. Good try.
Yeah, the roaming from Laurentia to make sure that the Olaf stays ahead is really nice, but it is putting himself at a minor deficit compared to the Orianna, which concerns me mildly because the Orianna certainly does very well, especially once those first item or two comes through the short truce. Going to start to look terrifying, especially with the ball delivery that she's got, whether it's the Gnar or the Jarvan jumping in, or even an ultimate from the Bard setting up just a big AoE little jump as soon as they come out of that the goldenness that they're going to be locked under with this Bard ultimate coming through, which I think is a big deal. Once the Tempered Fate is set up, you can put the Orianna ball down and immediately lock those members up. So there's plenty of ways to set that up. So if you leave this Orianna unchecked, it's going to be rather dangerous.
Did have an update on the Coco. Laurent was just a little bit feisty. He destroyed it. He just walked over it. He just destroyed a beautiful mug of cocoa that was waiting there for Putney. Maybe it's Putney's fault for letting it sit there and get cold. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to decide how the rest of the game goes out to get that answer. But we are going to potentially see some action here, hopefully at the top lane, because Hibernation is just hurting Blaze at every moment he can.
The big thing is, like, Wukong's early damage is not good. Not at all.
He's not
an early game damage. He's not really a damage dealer. He's either A, scales really decently into a solid dueler because you get Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruin King, things of that sort, and your ultimate makes you nearly unduelable because you got 2 seconds of CC, 2.5 seconds of CC, nearly, as well as the Conqueror being stacked super easily, or you become a massive team fighter. Right now, Bloss hasn't really committed to one style or the other, but the range damage from the Gnar combined with percentage health, it's really, really hard to deal with for any champion, let alone something like the Wukong without the ability to trade early. So I figured this would be the case. I hadn't seen the matchup particularly, so I wasn't going to make that statement so definitively yet, but this is kind of how I expected it to go. Gnar pokes away in the early laning phase. Blase has to really, really go heavily into aggressive 1v1 style build in order to ever really kill Mega Gnar.
Now we're going to see Hibernation use the Mega Gnar and try to get some damage down there. The big things that are worrying me right now is we have about a 30 CS lead that has developed off that 10 CS lead for Anticipation. So he's still farming away, and that's exactly where the Olaf wants to be. You do have some benefits, though, for Recon 5. Their mid lane is looking stacked right now for Putney. He's got so much farm over Laurent. And then you also have, as we were just mentioning, Hibernation putting the smackdown on Blase and being able to develop a nice little lead for himself as well. So they're feeling good in the laning phase, at least this month. They've stopped the big snowball early, so far at least, that we were hoping to see for Phoenix. And now it's just going to be about steadying the ship, keeping it rolling, and making sure that everything stays tight and nice.
Importantly, I do think that it's relative to, or it's vital to actually a little bit of an ult and a gang top lane as well.
He only gets the pushback onto Blase. Now we're going to see the first blood go over to the Wukong. He's going to get traded back. We just have everybody joining the party here. The True Shot Barrage comes across, but it's not going to do it. Laurent able to pick up a kill for himself. They take down 3 for 1 in that trade, and all of a sudden the game is broken wide open.
The CC from Wukong, all too easy to work with in all things kind of considered. But the bigger thing is that Anticipation, I don't believe, had the Ragnarok on when that shockwave went off to start with. So he did get CC'd, but he had his magic resist back, which was the bigger thing of all things considered. Not to mention, right now the Jarvan is on equal items, but the damage far highly weighed in the kind of retrospect compared to the Olaf. So the Olaf gonna destroy those 2v2s, those 3v3s anytime he's around. Hibernation had to burn the ultimate really quickly to make sure he can go down much faster, and stalled for time for that Jarvan in that Orianna entrance. Really unfortunate situation. Does actually get the dragon on the bottom side here for Recon 5 though.
Yeah, they pulled back a little bit of something. That's what you like to see, just getting wins where you can. But the big thing in that fight for me is we just saw so much go down, and Anticipation still rocking away, still able to keep the pace that he has been. And we saw how much damage he can do in that moment, and now having the Rift Herald, that's going to provide another moment of gold gaining opportunity for Phoenix. We're going to have to see where they want to use it, as we see a nice little trade in the mid lane by Putney and Laurent, who I'm sure will start getting a little bit more aggressive here as the time keeps ticking.
Yeah, interestingly, kind of hovering towards the bottom side of the map, which is a good place to try to attack. Again, this is a strong side of the map, and now Anticipation's out here as well.
He wanted the axe, so he didn't actually land the stuff, but it doesn't matter. They still pick it up. Cosmic Radiance just going to come down, be able to flex on him a little bit. Can't carry. Actually is able to pull back a kill, though, as they get their ADC taken down. Nobody was watching, and Fakey Rush is the trade down for Can't Carry.
Really unfortunate there, I think, to lose the Callista. I don't think that was necessary whatsoever. They get onto Phoenix, who stalls with a fair amount of time with the Q and the flash, but ends up burning a little bit too much. But the bigger thing is that Fakey Rush can't take the engage against Can't Carry. Doesn't even burn the exhaust, due to the fact that it's a lot more attack speed, not a lot of pure damage built for the Callista quite yet. I think might have also tanked tower during that engagement, so wasn't kind of quick enough with that pull, and the rest of his team not able to get the damage out before he dies. But first tower does go their way. They play around the bottom side of the map, and this is what we wanted to see from the side of Phoenix Carnage. This is how their team kind of wins in the early game and eventually develops this into late game victory. The one big thing is, again, this massive ticking time bomb in Putney decided to go for Seraphs, which is a super hard scaling build here against this composition, and really is going to go likely unpunished for doing so, for the most part at least. Now it looks like even Recon 5 looking for the Wukong won't find him though.
Yeah, nice little flag and drag, was trying to get the distance there, but unable to. And yes, I mean, I guess the saying goes that if you're strapping in for a nice farm session, you know, late game scaling session, might as well get comfy and make sure you have everything you need, right?
Yeah, the Archangels, I would say it's something that the Gathering Storm, Rod of Ages, things of that sort, you could also
just all the scaling.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see Rod of Ages post 13 minutes. I don't think that's quite going to come out, but the Seraphs is quite late game. I do like the fact that you went Sword Shoes, because there is quite a bit of damage on it. Let's see if this Wolf 1 2 on this play. Actually, really good. Yeah,
it was about half and half for both, so able to dissuade a little bit more there from Putney, who did, they both still had their ultimates available, not going to go full ham just yet. Plates are just about to fall, and gold is no longer going to be available. The Hibernation's looking for some gold for himself on the top side. Just going to get a nice bit of trade damage down onto Blase and be able to push down this tower just a little bit more. It's just been so oppressive in this top lane, I feel like, for Blase, who's just been getting aggressed on constantly from the beginning of the game, and now is just staring down a huge CS lead and still just being pressured under tower over and over again.
At this point, I'm curious about the Tiamat buy. The Tiamat buy is a lot more of a lane build that kind of gives itself over to the fact that you want to push out and roam a lot more, but there's no control that you've got over the top side of the map whatsoever. I'm a little bit curious about what happened bottom side. I think that the Rift Herald had gotten a setching shove in, so that happened. But I mean, the Orianna was there, so I'm a little curious. Maybe what it was is some pressure applied to the bottom side by the likes of Brash alongside Laurentia, as well as anticipation maybe being the key factor in that. And so it was the Orianna pulling off and losing the bottom lane inner tower as well. So 2 towers on that bottom side here. A very long lane to work with if they can get Blase back into a place where he feels like he can 1v1 Hibernation.
And the fact that Phoenix have developed out a 3K gold lead for themselves. It's not unsurmountable. It's not crazy, but it is. I mean, there's a good amount of gold over there. So you gotta know that. You gotta have that in your mind when you take engagements, when you take these little oversteps and things like that, which we haven't seen yet. But that all changes once the 15-minute mark comes around, Rebel. People start getting a little loose. People start getting a little crazy. And things can happen. So we'll have to see how that all goes down. But again, 15-minute mark here. Pretty close to an extent. We have seen good map control coming through from Phoenix altogether, though, and that's something that's definitely looking like a strength going into this series.
We do get no forcing from Recon 5, which is a little bit out of character, I think, for every single team I've seen at the amateur level. Usually teams like this, they try to force something with their composition, especially with like hard ultimate. Now, Hibernation is just saying, Blase, we don't like... Yeah, the flash burn. What do you do? There's no way to get away from it. The speed ups from that passive. Like, what do you do?
He even had the scuttle. Like, he even walked through the scuttle speed up and was like, "This is it. I got it." And then nah. It's like...
It doesn't even mean anything either. It's some needless trade damage that Blase had to flash away from because his team was on the bottom side trying to control the dragon. You get that, obviously, but the flash burnt from Blase means there's less likely to be backline access should a fight come around, especially around the Rift Herald or the Baron going to be spawning here in just a little bit of time. So whenever those 2 objectives come up, I'm still curious. I want to see at least a little bit, maybe, of what we can see from JJ Rod and Putney outside of that one top lane skirmish that went heavily into them.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And the combination coming together is going to be the key to this and getting it to work. And we really haven't seen those big team fights yet. And it's still very early, still not the time where you're looking to have those big 5v5s. But that's already 3 dragons down. You got to start contesting and start fighting over these because the Mountain Soul for either of these teams is going to be very beneficial. And now we actually get to see everybody go in. Sorry to cut you off there, but we saw the engage come through. The TP is there from Wukong. Going to try and join, but just a little bit too late. Big double knock up there. Echo is in the backline. That's a huge Meganar ulti. And it's going to be another big shockwave as well. The damage is following through. And that is a huge win here. They can get away with almost full health bars and can pull off 4 kills for 1 in that fight.
Exactly what I'm wanting to see. Recon 5, they've got a really good team fight when they're able to operate on all of their win conditions. Step 1, keep Can't Carry and Putney in the back because they do the most damage. Unfortunately, Can't Carry went down because of damage that had gone through. Doesn't matter all that much. Step 2, you want to deny the access for Olaf alongside the Cosmic Radiance from the likes of the Terran. Completely denied. Not got basically nothing. I think that's what ended up killing Can't Carry. But then even better, Phoenix ulted, Frankie, or Fakey, my apologies, in the backline, preventing Callista from walking up and doing the DPS necessary. Yep. Then the huge ultimate from Hibernation ends up shutting out Anticipation. I think it was a W that killed him, and the ultimate shut Laurentia out and made sure that he couldn't escape the fight either. Really well played. Superior team fighting composition, or at least easier executable team fighting composition from Recon 5, fully on display right there.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Rebel. They just played that beautifully, and that's just a little hint, a little hinkling of the team fight that we're going to be looking at later on when the big 5v5s and big setups come through. But that was an amazing time there. I mean, you get to see, it wasn't all used at the same time, but in beautiful succession. You got to see the Cataclysm, you got to see the giant shove back from the Gnar ulti, and then the Shockwave just to top it off was beautiful. Although, I have to say, when I saw Blase go in there, get the huge ultimate knockups, I was like, oh, this is it. They're going to take it. And I was like, what? The actual damage is coming through the farm leads and the people who have developed a good amount of gold for themselves, the carries at least. here for Recon 5.
Most definitely. And even, I think the one thing is they do win the fight. I'm very terrified of both Anticipation and also Laurentia right now. Laurentia on this Echo has the Ludens, or has the Lichbane, my apologies, alongside that Proto Belt with the Sword Shoes, which means any backline access, you saw the damage he did to Can't Carry in that fight. He evaporated that Echo with no magic resist, and it puts some fear into my mind. If he gets onto Orianna, Putney basically has no defenses either. Gets onto Echo. Echo's not go to defenses either. So they have to burn Exhaust. They have to burn defensive Summoner Spell, something to make sure he can't just evaporate somebody on the backline and maybe free up some space for this fight to come through.
We're going to have to see how they want to arrange that situation for themselves, as we're going to see a bit of a commitment by Anticipation here, but it is a Gnar, and going to waste a little bit of time there. But on the top side, you do get to see Laurent try and take that top tower, just get a little bit more breadth on the map for themselves. It's interesting how much of an effect that the tower take can have on the mobility and just the vision like game around the map, and especially those outer towers. Hibernation stayed a little bit too long though on the bot side here. He's still Gnar, and he's still pretty strong. He's gonna get really close to going down. He didn't get Mega Gnar, unfortunately, but Anticipation able to pick up the kill for himself. Now Laurent's going to get shockwaved in. It's a lot of damage coming through from the Orianna. My goodness. JJ is going to try to come finish it off. Cataclysm comes through. Here comes the Chrono Break, but right back into the arms of potentially Phoenix here. As he's going to go down. Just want to say, Rebel, Laurent used his flash, and that's unfortunate.
It is. My issue with what happened right there with Laurentia is he was in kind of a catch-22 situation. If he ults immediately to get rid of the damage from Putney, he's stuck very close to the tower, fighting an Orianna without the ability to trade that damage, and he dies pretty much no matter what. If he tries to run away, you can try to get out of that situation, but the problem was he waited so long to press that ultimate. All of the health that had been dealt to him by the Orianna was already stuck. Now, I will say, Recon 5 got a little bit antsy there. Phoenix flash auto and ignited in that situation, which was a little bit much, especially since Can't Carry wasn't contesting a mid lane push and was roaming to get the kill anyway. But either way, the Echo, I think, was stuck no matter what. They responded to the play on bottom side with their own top side play.
Indeed, and now we get to potentially see them start this dragon up, potentially go on Soul Point as well. So this is going to be big. Hibernation is here. He's almost got Mega Gnar available here. Dragon's getting very low. Who's going to get it? It's taken by the Orianna. Now it's 2-2 in Dragons, but the fight's going to ensue. We see a big Cyclone in the back, but it's not going to do all that much. Hibernation goes golden for just a moment, but the attention has turned on to Putney. He goes down. Now the team fight is going to keep going. That is going to be Fakey Rush hunting down everybody. Nobody is left to defend. Can't Carry makes it out with a sliver of health, and no members fall here. That is going to be another beautiful team fight. We've seen two so far go both ways completely, and it's the execution that reigns true.
A lot of the difficulty, I think, comes in the usage of these ultimates, especially the support ultimates, whether it is the Cosmic Radiance or the Tempered Fate, being able to use them properly. The ultimate from Phoenix went down onto his Gnar to make sure Hibernation could get a good ultimate off before he ended up dying, but it ended up not meaning much because, I mean, the ultimate from Orianna was used on the backline, didn't get a ridiculous amount of damage, and now, I mean, Ezreal's trying to contest his team committed as well.
Putney's here.
There.
Doesn't have Shockwave just yet, but the Baron's getting... Okay, it's going to go over. Anticipation will smite that one away. He's got to be really careful. They popped Ragnarok. He does have Flash, though.
Hibernation!
Although, Heat trying to pick up the gold here, but that's a bit of an overextension. He's almost got Mega Gnar. He's going to keep going. Here comes out. Here comes the Wombo combo. And they aren't able to land it all, but that's all that matters. Phoenix going to pick up another kill here for himself. Why not? Give the Bard some gold, but... great collapse there coming through from Recon 5.
They get good value, at least for killing Anticipation off the back end, just to make sure they get the Baron off of somebody so that all four members don't have it. The fight from before win against them, unfortunate. I think part of that is due to the fact that, again, your Orianna isn't disgustingly fed at the moment, and your Ezreal is not doing the DPS necessary on 2 items. You need a 3rd item to really come in before you're able to shred through things like the Olaf, like the Echo, before they're really having that impact that you need. Especially when Taric is dropping heals, dropping shields on pretty much everyone in play. It's really hard to burn through that, especially now there is no Executioners also, so that Grievous Wound's not being applied. And you see the power of the composition coming through. They've got the early lead, about 4,000. Not ridiculous, but it's enough to give them priority over these neutral objectives and then force fights in their favor before the items come through. Now, my question mark is, how far can they get this advantage to go with the Baron buff to make sure this next Dragon, this next Baron are going to go in their favor? Because eventually this Ori and this Ez are going to hit a lot harder.
And that is the point that you're looking for Recon 5, especially trying to get into this game. But really, just trying to defend against this Baron push here. They have a good amount, some good split pushing going on as well. It's going to be very hard for the wave clear. Although you still do have Putney, who, as you said, isn't like the ultimate Super Saiyan mode right now, but still feeling pretty good. True Shot Barrage going to come through for Can't Carry just to put some damage down onto the wave coming in, but they've got to deal with their side waves here, Rebel.
And running the 1-3-1, the Wukong has the Trinity Force as well as the Tiamat, which is a little bit more of the side lane pressure that you'd be expecting, especially now because you can maybe take it into Mininar, your damage will stick. And then the opposite side, who do you respond to Echo if you're doing it right now?
No.
Blase, no, it's unfortunate, no.
I can't watch this again. He just can't get away. There's just nothing he can do.
Wall,
I feel so bad. Like, he's just watching paint dry at this point. Hibernation gonna pick up another kill for himself. And nice little thumbs up coming out for Brad. She's killing it with the emotes today, I gotta say.
Certainly the case. Like I said, the damage stuck when he had Mininar out, but as soon as the Meganar came out, there's just no damage to be dealt whatsoever. Looked like he was tickling him with some of the auto attacks and the ultimate that had come through. And the Baron buff being applied really well. So the Gnar super pivotal at the moment for the team fight from Recon 5. And because of that, they pushed easily down mid lane. I'm surprised they weren't able to double down their efforts to the bottom side tower. But at minimum, getting themselves at least one gets them the 5,000, 4,500 gold advantage, and looking maybe to wait for this next dragon. If they can set their waves back up, try to push in mid and bottom lane, and then just take a very easy dragon for themselves.
And I think that the fact that Recon 5 were able to take that dragon right from the nose of anticipation is a big deal. I mean, that makes it to where it isn't on soul point. You can be a little bit more strategized when you're coming into this next dragon in 30 seconds, and you're going to need to be, because either team can go on soul point here, and we know how important that is for at least the use of the map and being able to position yourself in ways that you want to. And I think that with both these things, I'm getting a little scared because we're seeing a little bit more presence put towards the top of the map of the dragon just about to spawn, but we'll have to see. Maybe they just let them take soul point.
At this moment, I mean, with Mountain Drake being the case, I mean, double Mountain Drake isn't lovely to give away, but it's certainly not the end of the world, especially if you get good pressure with your Gnar, and you're able to reset mid lane as well, especially with Baron spawning in about 2 minutes time from this point. So maybe they want that priority in the jungle to make sure they can fight around that objective more than anything. Okay, nothing was waited, no smite, no Rend. They waited for the S ultimate. It was really close. I knew it was possible if the Rend had come through, but Can't Carry not going to get that one.
Goodness, wasn't it Bang years ago that was sniping objectives like it was nothing? Oh goodness, that would have been fun. Just add a little extra spice to this spicy game already. I don't know if I could handle it. But we do have TPs coming up here for the side of Recon 5. Going to see where they want to utilize those in the next big fight. Potentially not going to have one for a little while, though. As you said, no big objectives on the map. Baron not up for another minute, but Hibernation is always looking for something. I feel like he should have a shark skin now and just be like roaming the waters, have the Jaws theme song playing behind him all the time.
Always willing to look for the fight. Again, I mean, I would too. You've got the Frozen Mallet, you've got your passive, you've got Black Fever. Like, nobody gets away from the Gnar when he has this. The only real kind of reprieve to all of those auto attacks slowing you forever and speeding him up is Mega Gnar, and that's really not what you want to fight Gnar in anywhere. So it's dangerous either way, which is unfortunate. I will say a lot of the power on Recon 5 is in this Orianna and in this Gnar exclusively, and those aren't great tools to utilize into the likes of something like Echo, into Olaf, or anything of the sort, and especially into a good Cosmic Radiance, because then it's burst damage, and once that's gone, it's gone forever. So then, I mean, Echo, you've seen Laurentia already having some good plays. Rabidon's completed for him as well. So the fear is starting to come out. I think Can't Carry really needs to get to his next item as fast as possible to make sure that this DPS is going to be coming through. Right now, they're not really cutting through them fast enough.
His next item is going to be a Death Dance. And yes, I know, Death Dance, broken, blah, blah, blah. But man, I don't know. It just feels so bad. Like, I feel like it does add a good amount of damage, but there's other items that would add so much more. And I feel like that's what you're looking for right now. But the survivability on Ezreal is just too useful. It's so strong right now that you just can't pass it up.
It is nerfed for melee champions. I don't think it hit Ezreal as hard as some, because Ezreal's sustain comes a lot more through kind of the on-hit effects of getting health back from doing damage than it is the damage store. So like Aphelios was a really big abuser of the damage store, so that's why he doesn't build it as much. But in this game in particular, I don't love it, because I'd rather see Blade of the Rune get you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You can kite a lot better. The Olaf's got a lot of health. Blase has a good amount of health. Laurentia had built the Proto Belt, so he's got some health. There's health pretty much all around, and you're trying to shred through members who are relatively tanky. You need that extra bit of damage added on to every single hit in order to make this work, especially with no Trinity Force. Can't carry, in my mind. It gives him life steal, gives him tank shred, helps out his damage, gives him a little bit of self-heal, which he does need, especially when the Iceborne makes it hard to get onto him. I would have loved to see that rather than the Death Stance in this one. That's me. Okay.
And he's the thing is I'm in complete agreement in this game, especially because you're looking at Echo as the big AP. I mean, maybe Brash a little bit, not going to be a lot, but you're looking at Echo to be this big AP thing. I really agree that the kiting, all that stuff is so necessary in this matchup, and you already have the Iceborne Gauntlet, so you do have already a little bit of kiting, a little bit of potential in that way, but like you had mentioned, it's the lifesteal, it's the health on hit, it's all these things that get added on top of it, and it works so well with his kit. Now we're going to see Hibernation. Potentially was looking to go in, not going to do it. Does have his Mega Gnar available to him now, though.
I will say maybe the one thought process here is can't carry, if he wants to survive the Echo specifically, Muramana, or it's not Muramana, Magic Resist attack speed item, Hex Shrinker into the remaining item would be a lot better of a choice, and you don't build that off. That actually Hibernation.
Look at this damage. There's nothing he could, like, you just can't fight it. And he's going to use his Chrono Break, so he's going to get a lot of health back in. He doesn't have Mega Gnar here. The healing comes through there. They're going to just walk away from the whole situation. Laurent had the possibility to pull something out there, though.
Yeah, I think both of them a little bit scared to take the full engagement.
Yeah.
I think Hibernation, because when he goes to Mini-Gnar, loses a lot of his stats, and Echo, because he wasn't sure if he had the damage to get through the Gnar fast enough, especially with those slows coming through, which is, I think, the fear from both sides. It's kind of a mutual hat-tipping and hand-shaking to escape on both sides. Now, the thing is, actually, that's really bad. The Gnar just got the Gnar bar stacked. Will be backing here and the TP is available, but you're TPing in without really a Gnar bar to work with, which is a lot worse of a situation than you usually want. Not to mention, here's anticipation, impossible to fight, getting some pressure forward in this jungle.
Yeah, just trying to set up for this dragon, and it is Recon 5 who have to take this. I mean, you give over this Mountain Soul to this Olaf, to this Wukong, to this Echo, and then not even talking about the bot lane. That's already just so scary. And so you really need to fight over this. And they tried to catch out anticipation there just a little bit over-eager, but weren't able to get a lot of damage out because he is that super tank right now. He does have a lot of health for himself. So this is going to be a big fight. We're already going to see the engagement, though. Cyclone comes in with Radiance on top. That's already can't carry going down to Laurent. And now we're going to see the Mega Gnar trying to come through on the backside, but it doesn't matter. The rest of the members are just being melted down and turned into scrap. That's a big shockwave coming through, but is it enough to save your team? Mega Gnar ulti is going to be there as well, but everybody's coming to follow up. The cavalry has arrived. Laurent looking to take down Putney and get a little bit of revenge, but he's still so strong on that Orianna. And we just have a lot of eagerness here to pick up some kills by Phoenix, as Hibernation's just going to get run down here, and that's going to be a big finish to that fight and a huge win in the team fight there for Phoenix. Carnage.
K carries way too far up in that fight. He is engaged on by Blase, and it was a really good engagement to start with, or at least to look like, and I was a little afraid it was going to fizzle out because of the fact that they only got onto Ezreal and immediately Arcane shifted and flashed out, but thankfully Laurent follows up. He gets to backline, no one's there to initially deny it. There's no Bard ultimate, there is no Orianna ultimate, there is no Jarvan ultimate to try to deny it. Oh my god. They tried to steal it. They didn't get it. So Mountain Soul, as you were saying, onto a team that's already difficult to kill, going to be even harder. And especially if can't stay alive in these fights, he's going to have a hard time getting this damage out. Once the Orianna Shockwave is through, Putney still does good damage, but they desperately need consistent DPS in these fights to make sure that they can take wins.
And the thing that's worrying me right now is that's such a hard thing for Can't Carry to accomplish. First of all, you're an Ezreal. You have not completed the big damage items. Yes, you have your Death Stance now, whatever. you're not going to be hitting these people as hard as you think you will. Anticipation is going to be tanking some shots. And the thing about Ezreal is you need these skill shots to be hitting the right members. And Anticipation is just going to go in with Ragnarok. He's going to be in some serious trouble, though. He's going to go golden, though, as Brash comes in. Tempered Fate comes across. He doesn't get put into it. And now the Cyclone comes across. That's going to be a lot of damage in the backline, but able to pick off one. Huge ultimates coming through. That's going to be the wombo combo we were looking for, but it's going to be enough to take the fight. That tankiness, that health, that shield from the Mountain Soul. They can just survive all day long. Fakey is looking to go forward now, as well as Brash. They decide to pull off that. Was a little bit over eager there, but my goodness, the amount of damage that they just sustained to only lose one member.
Completely ridiculous. like I said, this composition's not easy to kill even without Mountain Soul. You've got the regeneration and the lifesteal on the Olaf, especially when he gets low and has the enhanced attack speed. Echo's ultimate. You got Death's Dance on your Wukong, who also doubles up, also has the ultimate. And then on top of all of this, you have got a Taric who has a Callista ultimate to pull him out of danger. It's already not easy. Now with Mountain Soul, you get even more free. Maybe 2-3 Ezreal auto / Q, something like that. One rotation from Putney may be denied, especially a rotation from somebody like Gnar or a Jarvan that might have been the difference in a kill, completely removed from the board. That's why that fight really went against them, because they kept carrying Putney alive.
Yeah.
But there was not enough damage to get through all the shield and all the sustain.
Well, they used their wombo combo. They used everything, and it didn't matter. It just didn't do anything, and that's the hardest realization at this point in the game. You are down 8,000 gold. You are down a soul. They are going to have the strength in this match, and you just got to claw your way back in somehow. As now we're seeing the Baron started up here for Phoenix, and could see a contest coming through, though.
You need Rabadons, I think, before you can really start to fight with Putney. I think that's the big thing. At this moment, I'm also terrified because Baron goes over to the way of Phoenix Carnage, and when they get that, you now have a 1-3-1 setup with the Wukong and with an Echo, specifically one that I think maybe Wukong can start to look to at least get away from the likes of the Gnar, or if not, Echo can start to do that definitely. And your 3-man is exceptionally strong as well. Anticipation, Fakey, and Brash all exceptionally strong on their carries, and they're not even kind of the focal points here. And if this Echo gets alone or gets kind of a 1v1 against Putney, all it takes is one good rotation to bring him down. The 1v1-3-1 threat is real here, and I'm kind of terrified for it at this point.
Well, it's something that I've seen kind of play out here, and we saw it especially in that last big team fight of seeing those just being popped everywhere, is the fact that, yes, you do have this wombo combo, but right over top of it, guess what fits perfectly? It's the Cosmic Radiance. It comes down and just protects everything. Now, with everything available to them, you're going to have to see how they can do and how much pressure they can put in with this Baron buff, as they do take the mid inhibitor. Now, setting their sights on the bottom, perhaps, it's going to be a little bit trickier to get this down.
I will say I don't like that they're playing as 5 members. I don't think that that's really an easy way. Again, you've got really strong side laners, and you've got exceptionally, especially the Echo. If you want to play 4-1 and have the Wukong be an engage bot, go ahead. Gnar's got to be able to respond to the Echo. You already saw the 1v1 going his way, let alone before the Void Staff got completed. They are able to siege much better as 5, I suppose. That's the thought. Here's the engage.
It's going to be a big fight. Cyclone coming across. The Cataclysm went through, but they really just didn't do anything. I mean, it was really JJ just buying some time, but that's going to be Blaze getting taken down. That's the one you needed. Now Hibernation goes in. He needs to get out, though. He's really low. I have to say, Can't Carry's shots are just not connecting. They aren't doing any damage, and that's that consistent damage you were saying we needed. That's Phoenix taken down. They are just going to start. Huge shockwave, though, from Putney. Gets them all to about half health, but is it going to be enough to stop them from sieging? Doesn't look like that's going to be so. They are able to pick up another kill. They're slowly taking down the members of Phoenix here, but Fakey rush around the side. Look at him. He's just hitting the Nexus away all day long, and that is going to be game 1 going over to Phoenix Carnage.
And stacking as 5 isn't the best opportunity, but when you're that far ahead, you just go with your team, and that's, I think, exactly what you just saw. It didn't really matter who went down. As long as you had the Baron buff minions attacking the base, you were going to win no matter what. This was Recon 5 early, having some good engagements, having some good little kind of pushback, and knowing what their composition can do. But come the late game, I think Can't Carry's inability to put out the DPS and Putney not being so far ahead that you can burst out 4 or 5 members with a good shockwave was detrimental to them. Hibernation didn't have the damage as Meganar to do things. JJ Rod, if he goes full AD, maybe they got some more damage, but in that one, it just looked like Recon didn't have the firepower necessarily to take the fights.
Well, and the thing for me in this game is it really wasn't up to the bot lane. I mean, I think Brash definitely has something to say about that. I think he was super integral to everything for them, but it was really about the solo laners, and it was really about how the flow of the team went together. And it looked so good for Recon 5. I mean, you have Hibernation just killing it in the top lane, but it was when they came together, when those big decisions came to it, it just wasn't there. So hopefully we get to see a bounce back in game number 2, because I know I was so happy about how this game 1 played out. It was so back and forth for the longest time. We saw these huge team fights, these big decisions coming through, and it was just so fun to see, and I hope we get to continue that into game 2.
Yeah, I think Recon 5, Hibernation needs something more aggressive, man. He was playing this game on that Gnar, and he was clowning that top lane matchup against the Wukong so often. I would love to see him get his hands on something aggressive, maybe take it into his own hands as a damage dealer, a split push or something, because they needed a little bit more. They needed something else added to this composition. They had the good wombo. They hit it a couple of times. They just didn't have the consistent damage on the backside to be able to win fight after fight. If they've got something damage heavy, like instead of the Gnar, maybe you go for something like, I don't really know what's a good team fighting, like Vladimir. If you swap Gnar for Vladimir, gold for gold in that game, they smash that game probably because there's too much damage to deal with. Now, I'm not saying that's the answer, but what I am saying is more agency for Hibernation means they're more likely to win.
Have to see if they give Hibernation the agency he's looking for, or if we see something different come through. But we're going to take a small little break to get this game number 2 going for you. Don't go anywhere.
So, let's retrace. You started. So, let's retrace. You
you have made it back here, and so have we, for Game 2. Here for the UCL, we have Phoenix Carnage on the blue side this time, with Recon 5 picking up the red side. Have to see what Recon 5 can answer back with after that Game 1 from just a great performance from Phoenix Carnage. All around, it was a bit iffy in the beginning, but that's kind of what you were expecting, and they just turned on the jets towards the end.
Yeah, surprisingly, I think Phoenix Carnage, they pivoted really well because they played towards bottom lane slightly to start with, but more specifically, when those mid-game fights turned against them, it was actually the Echo that continued to be kind of a consistent contributor to the game, and that was the late-game threat, that was the late-game backline threat, and you saw it come to fruition as the game had continued, and so I expect that to kind of be denied from them in this one.
Indeed. And the bans are coming through here. On the blue side, we do have the Syndra, the Volley Bear taken away. For Recon 5, they take away the Graves again, as well as the Olaf. So not one to see that one on the board. And Ezreal is the last ban in the first phase here for Phoenix Carnage. My goodness, Recon 5 is coming hot out the gate as they take Taric away with their last ban in the first phase. Set is that first pickup for Phoenix. So they're going to make sure that they get that pick in for themselves.
Really shocked to see the blue side Syndra. Like, it just makes no sense to me because they can grab that one first overall. Instead, they end up going with the set. I don't think that's shocking. I know Phoenix can play the champion in the support role. There's still flexibility to it, and Hibernation can certainly play. Or, my apologies, I'm on the opposite side right now. Blase can play that one, and I'm sure Brash could potentially take that in the right matchup. I was curious, again, because last game, the red side had banned it out. Phoenix got it on red side, which is normal, but in this game, they're not willing to take it themselves.
Yeah, and the answer here for Recon 5, or at least the first answer, is the Ashe coming through. And this is a pick that I've been seeing rise a little priority, and I've been loving this pick. I've always been an Ashe player. We also have a good friend of ours who's the Ashe one-trick monster. But the fact that we get to see this champion start coming through, I love it, because you just provide so much utility, but as well as so much strength. And coming into the later parts of the game, pairing it up with the Karma potentially, this could be flexed somewhere else still, but I like the combination of the Ashe Karma itself together, so we'll have to see if they want to do that or where they want to go with it. Phoenix Carnage are looking like they're going to pick up 200 years for themselves, and they lock in the Aphelios.
I'm just a little lost with that Ashe pick so early on. I mean, there's so much more of the draft to come through. It's an immobile ADC, and especially with the likes of, just off the top of my head, Varus, Callista, Aphelios, so many other ADCs you go with, and you go Ashe.
All the top tier.
It confuses me. Yeah, it's just a little bit early in the draft, at least in my mind. At least wait till second rotation red side to grab it. Instead, they go Ashe Karma. The Lulu's got some flexibility to the mid lane potentially to match Karma. I don't think it's a bad pickup in the mid lane or in the support role. And it does well with the Aphelios, especially if the Ashe wants to try to get aggressive. She steps a little too far forward. She immediately gets polymorphed by the likes of the Lulu, and the trade damage comes back in spades from these two.
That's what I was actually going to say, is I really like the combination of the Lulu with the Aphelios. I think it just provides so much for the Aphelios, and you can just follow it up so easily. So that combination coming through for sure for them. Recon 5 looking to pick a little bit of spiciness for themselves. They lock in Wukong.
Yeah, I don't think the Wukong is particularly bad into the likes of Set. I think especially if it's a well-versed Wukong into the matchup, you know that there's your E is a really good trading tool to get kind of poke damage out onto Set. And as long as you can avoid the grit punch, you get rid of that Haymaker as fast as possible. You make sure not to trade into him when that shield is up. And especially you make sure not to stick around with your clone so that he can face breaker you into one another and get that longer stun. It's a perfectly fine matchup that the Wukong can actually sit and scale into rather nicely.
Recon 5 actually going to take away the Mordekaiser here, so potentially thinking the Set is not going to the top lane, and I know I would love to see. It's more than likely. I mean, you said Lulu can be a flex to mid lane. I would love to see the Set go into the jungle. I've been having so much fun with that pick. It's just the I don't know if you've seen it, but like the Sonic the Hedgehog build with like Phase Rush and Hex Flash and all the goodies that you could ever want, but I don't know if we'll actually get to see that this time around. As I said, the Mordekaiser was banned away. The Orianna is going to be the ban away for Phoenix Carnage, and just waiting on those last two bans to round us out.
Yeah, I'm really I think Recon 5, they need to have a good blind pick here just because of the fact that, again, Phoenix Carnage's composition is so flexible at the moment. We see the Ornn and the Orianna, two really good team fighting champions that counter a lot of Death Bile style, so things like Olaf set that just run at you. Ornn Orianna do well into because of the ability to kind of capitalize on you running at them, whereas the Mordekaiser echo a little bit more blanket to make sure there's no response in these solo lanes specifically. I'd like to see jungler here because I think it's a little bit more hidden than taking your other solo laner because you can confuse maybe where Wukong's going. You could go mid or support. Yeah, there's the Trundle. So now Karma mid, Wukong top. Karma top, Wukong mid. You want to go something support. There's a little bit of flexibility still there so long as you keep that Trundle in reps. And he's a very good jungler at that.
And very true. We have seen him do so much in the jungle recently, and you do leave that flexibility open, which is so strong in the drafts. I mean, it just provides that much extra layer of the 3D chess that we have going on that is picks and bans. And now Phoenix taking their time to lock in their pick here. Oh my goodness, we get to see a Rengar apparently, Rebel Fox.
Now that is an intriguing Mr. Lemon.
That's a pick. Locked it in.
That's a pick. That's one that you lock in right there. Certainly, like many other champions before it and many after it as well. I'm curious to see what their last pick is here because I'm really contemplating whether or not Rengar top is the response here to the likes of Wukong. No, okay, it's going to be the Ryze. And there's still some potential maybe for it to be top lane. The Ryze, I think, has been super valued, especially as a mid laner, which is why I don't expect this to be mid set or something like that. Now the curiosity comes to, is it Rengar jungle or Rengar top? I actually think Rengar is a better top laner than a jungler at the moment, more than anything else. Unless you're paired into something that really gets aggressed on very early that Rengar can capitalize on. If I'm on the side of Recon 5, I like the fact that you have a lot of response, and this is what I was going to go to. I was going to say Azir, but Cassiopeia fits the same thing. Consistent damage, ways to kind of prevent that from happening and making sure. I'm actually getting a little bit of information from Nightclaw that Anticipation, the jungler from Phoenix Carnage, is a one-trick Rengar player, so we're going to see some masterful play from him tonight.
Indeed, and with a good composition surrounding him, I think it can be just a great tool to be utilized by Anticipation. My question here for you, Rebel, is are we going to get back to the Ryze meta of Worlds where we just see him picked in every game? I hope we don't get to that point because, man, it is fun to see those cool realm warps and stuff, but seeing Ryze every single game is just a little bit tiring. But we do get this matchup, Cassiopeia versus Ryze in the mid lane. We saw the chaotic matchup of the Orianna against the Echo last time. How to see what it pulls out this time. I don't think we'll see as much mobility, as much roaming this time around, but we could once we get to level 6 as well. And just looking at the compositions put together here, I don't honestly know the matchup between Rengar and Trundle very well, and would find that that's a very volatile one if I'm just thinking of it right off the bat.
Okay, first off, how dare you say Ryze is not a good champion? So,
I never said he wasn't a good champion.
He said he's boring to watch game to game. That's a lie. That is an absolute. If you watch Faker's Ryze every single game, I guarantee you'll be master in like a week. I guarantee. It's absolutely true. Because of how good. So don't deny. I'm also 100,000 mastery point Ryze player.
Just throw that in there casually.
We'll get back into this one though, of course, because I will talk a little bit about Rengar versus Trundle. Trundle tends to be really good against a lot of top tier junglers at the moment, especially AD junglers, because of his Q being able to drain a lot of the AD that comes out from the consistent fight from somebody, and B, the ability to drop the pillar and immediately take an engagement, whether it's behind or in front of somebody to deny their engagement, as well as the attack speed buff that you get. Rengar is actually one of the few champions that does okay into the likes of Trundle, specifically because of the fact that his engagements are very quick. It's hard to deny a Rengar with a pillar in the same way. I also got a re-up that our broadcaster was trolling me, and he's actually an Olaf one-trick, not a Rengar one-trick. That's not to say that the matchup goes differently, so thank you for that punking. I appreciate it, Nightclaw. Nods to you. But I'm excited to see it. Yeah, he's pranking me. He's 100%. I'm expecting the cameras to come any second now.
Of course.
Yeah, but the Rengar versus Trundle, Trundle can win the matchup if they're in a straight-up 1v1 auto-attacking each other in a consistent fashion. But the problem is Rengar never takes that engagement anyway. You're the one looking from the brush. You're the one looking for kind of a sneaky engagement from somewhere else. And it's difficult for Trundle to get those auto-attack cues off, to get that auto-attack drain, and to get the pillar in place before your health bar drops low enough to where you're never going to win that 1v1 engagement. So Rengar, in this case, usually can control Trundle as long as the tempo is going in favor of Rengar.
That's really interesting. And the other thing is the subjugate is pretty much useless on the Rengar. Does not have a lot of health. You get some of his extra stats, but it's not going to be that target where like you're subjugating him as soon as you see him, and like you're gonna just win the game because of that. And so that provides a really interesting playstyle here for the Trundle, especially, and looking to focus on not skirmishing in the jungle and trying to get some of these lanes ahead, and especially looking at the Cassiopeia, the Wukong. We did see a heavy focus on the solo laners last game, especially with just kind of an island put down to the bottom. Although when the dragons came around, there was a lot of fighting around that, but in the laning phase, we didn't see too much craziness down there. So I wonder if we're going to still see the same kind of mentality for both teams going into this game too, or if we see something different.
With the likes of Ashe Karma, I think it's a little bit easier to run more of a poking lane. So the Aphelios Lulu, they probably won't feel comfortable on the front foot taking engagements into this lane unless the Rengar is going to be nearby, the set is looking for an engagement, something along those lines. And they don't particularly capitalize well on the fact that Ashe is relatively immobile, especially with those Karma shields coming in, which is my one fear. Now, while Aphelios team fights and outdamages Ashe in ridiculous amounts once those 2-3 item spikes start coming in, until that point, the Ashe should have complete control of what should be the bottom lane, especially with the likes of Karma. You throw the Mantra Q, you throw the Mantra Shield, and you cover a lot of the weaknesses that Ashe is going to have as a champion. So then the question is, does Anticipation put in resources to make sure your Aphelios gets ahead or to try to shut down the Ashe Karma early? Or do you fight that top side from the top last game? Set has some good CC in playing into the Wukong, who shouldn't have a ridiculous amount of solo kill pressure. And then mid lane, you actually have a relatively weak matchup. I don't think Ryze is as bad into Cassiopeia as it was seasons ago, but still not a favorable matchup if Cassiopeia is able to hit, because you out DPS the Ryze if you hit that poison.
And that's where you're going to have to be looking at is the synergy there, especially. And I am super excited to potentially see a longer game this time, because we have a lot of late game scaling and a lot of options, a lot of trump cards across the board. So I'm really excited to see how that kind of all plays out together. But before we can see how it plays out, we have to go to a small little break, get through spectator delay. We do have a little message from one of our sponsors. And, I've actually been looking recently because my keyboard has not been having a good time. But if you are looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with your peripherals, as I was just saying. And from keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to all of our prize pools. And if you need to find a new keyboard, if you need something that's going to really pop, stand out, go check out the Hexgear's X1 RGB low profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. That's the one I've actually been looking at myself. You can use the code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order at checkout. And for more information, head on over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That is KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products.
It's all about humanity.
Gave you too much, now I'm swallowed. Now I'm the fool while you're breaking rules. Dangerous path that I follow. Oh, go on, just do what you do. Own it. pain seems to follow.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it onto Summoner's Rift for Game 2 of this UCL Week 7 matchup between Recon 5 Scarlet and Phoenix Carnage.
Excited to get into this one. Well, we're looking around everybody, the mastery on the champions that they've got, the keys we're analyzing everything coming into this one. After that game 1 where it looked good from the side of Recon 5, but clearly they didn't come out ahead, especially off the back of some lack of scaling. Now they've got some of the agency on their other lanes. Putney has a lot of the consistent DPS that might have been nice last game. Hibernation on the likes of the Wukong. I'm liking some of the changes they made.
I do too, and I think it's a good feel to go into a game 2, having a bit of a refreshed composition, feeling a little bit more confident especially, but that is something we did focus on, as you were saying, talking about between the games, the setup, just the masteries and everything like that. There's some comfort being picked up here by Phoenix Carnage, just going to throw it out there, especially looking at anticipation in the role. So I'm really looking at Putney and JJ to put their foot down, make sure that they aren't the ones that cause a snowball or anything like that, and really just be able to use that team synergy that we've seen so far.
I will say late game, I don't think there's a response to Ryze side lane at all. Like nobody can do it. Like it's not going to be Wukong and it's not going to be Cassiopeia by any stretch of the imagination. So worst case scenario, you end up running either 4-1 or 1-3-1, depending on how well the set is doing in the side lane. And there's very little response. I do think Putney beats him in the side lane later. Lorenzo just flexing.
He's already.
Root level 1 just throws it immediately onto Putney. My goodness.
Well, and I love like the angle he had too. Is like, oh, if you minions, you're gonna get traded down on, and he's definitely playing the lane extremely aggressive already. I haven't seen the prison take at level 1 in a long time, so maybe new strats coming through. But
it's really good. It's pretty common actually. You trade pretty heavily with it. The slow sets up for auto attack, so if they try to pull away, then you just immediately get them. So, and we're seeing it here for a reason, especially because like E no longer bounces and does damage. Now it's really hard. Deny the access.
Yeah, and this is another matchup that I really want to keep a little bit of a close eye on, is this Wukong against Set, because we did see the top lane matchup really affect the entirety of the game last time, where we had a lot of power trickle down across the map after that, and just the openness that the top lane provided. So that's something we need to see and watch out for, and especially looking at Hibernation to have another good performance. I think he did really well on the Gnar, and I think there were a lot of positives. They just didn't come together as the full team, as we see JJ looking to get a nice little pillar here. Actually lands it, but then puts the pillar, just walks away because he is too close to the tower. Now in mid lane, Laurent and Putney going to go at it, about both health there. So nice even trade coming out for the mid laners.
And I think what's interesting about the top lane matchup that you were talking about just a second ago is that Blase versus Hibernation. Blase looks like he grabbed it so early in the draft. You have to think that he knows how to play this set exceptionally well, or has prepared it better than any other champion. And the Wukong is something it's not an easy matchup into the set. It can work in very specific circumstances.
Yeah.
That doesn't always. That's a nice
oh my goodness.
Oh.
That's Hibernation's just going to go down. The second I saw him set up for the face, what was going to happen, because it's always so funny because people worry about the distance and how the ability is going to come out, so they're like trying to out the whole time. They don't realize where the minions are comparatively, and they just get pulled in max range like that just now, and it puts Blase up, and now he's TP advantage as well.
I will say, in the right situation here, Hibernation can look to return so long as he has this wave push. So I think the options here for Hibernation are either A, you let this wave push into you, you try to freeze it, and then Blase teleports out, breaks it, and then you lose. Or you try to fight him immediately.
Oh my goodness!
Flex
the mastery!
No mana, just flexes on him with the last bit of it. Now he has to push in the wave as best he can. I want to see him reset for the tier as fast as possible, but yeah, using that route, denying the entrance from JJ Rod right there.
They have friends and family, Rebel. That is dirty.
I can always respect a Ryze properly denying a gank. It's not as easy as it looks sometimes, especially that low of mana, having that much to deny the gank. Because my goodness, Hibernation just took a shot.
There's just like, it just seems like he can't respond to it. The 1-2 punches are flying his way, and he can't hit him back with the staff. It's not going to happen. And a huge minion wave is now pushing into the tower. Hibernation is going to have a bit of trouble trying to pick all that up, but my goodness, this is starting out really well for Phoenix Carnage.
That is okay. Facebreaker misused by
yeah,
Blossom.
that didn't work.
And that means the minion wave is pretty much all hibernations to take. And surprisingly, I think he might actually end up ahead in terms of minions after the wave is actually picked up in its entirety against him. Plus, the wave is on his side of the tower. Might slow creep towards the other side. Might have a good place for a freeze potentially to look for. Especially with double TPs down, that's really big because once the level 6 comes up, once TPs are back, if that lane was frozen and you end up equalizing or even getting an advantage from those minions, then the Wukong starts to look terrifying. Except that, yeah, you don't win triple longsword set matches.
It's just like every time the direct camera goes up there, it's like, hey, let's see how much damage Boss can do to the Wukong. We are seeing the first dragon going down here. It's the first dragon in the game. It's Cloud Dragon going over, but now Anticipation looking for it. Hibernation going to be taken down by Anticipation. And he almost gets taken down by the tower himself, but they are able to get the kill, get out, and feeling really good about their start.
Hibernation is Anticipation Nation right now.
He has level 6. You can't do it!
Oh, goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is not only is it respectively high in terms of tier list of champions across the board, but you also have severe mastery of these champions. Blase is dominating the 1v1. Laurencio is making this Ryze look like an absolute god tier pick, and then the bottom lane, of course, just burning their Flash 100 power to the Ash Karma, unfortunately. But that's the way we would expect them to go. There's some flexibility to how good the Ryze is. Now, despite all of the antics that we've seen from the Ryze, dodging out on JJ Rod's ganks and actually putting a lot of damage, it's actually down a fair amount of minions. The one going against Putney is still not an easy thing to manage. So you have to taper your expectations from what we've seen on the screen and keep your eye on the gold values, because that does matter as we get into fights a little bit later. But Blase and Laurencio's obvious expertise on their champions currently coming to light right now.
It really is, and we're starting to see some good trends. But honestly, as you said, it's that hitting them out, the extra gold that you're getting from these leads across the board that you can really do something with. And I'd say the one thing here for Recon 5 is I don't think they're going to be putting any more resources towards Hibernation, unfortunately. I think his time has come and gone a little bit to get like these early ganks, these early resources, and I expect him to transfer focus a little bit more towards Putney and can't carry, obviously, but I really want to see Putney get ahead. I want to see this Cassiopeia come online. He's already doing really well in the CS, and he's able to get himself just that little bit of a lead for it, and so I really want to see that kind of come to fruition.
So interestingly, we actually saw Anticipation had kind of set up for a full clear from his Krugs all the way up the map and has the Tiamat as well. And when we see him run directly out to the Raptor pit, and this is off the back of some information Ryze is grabbing about the top side of the map. They're reading where JJ Rod is right now to look for an invade, which is huge because Laurencio sitting up on the rep of, oh no!
He's just sitting there waiting. They walked all the way across the map. Beautiful, impeccable timing coming through from Laurent Anticipation, and my goodness, if that's not the way to start this game, there is no other way.
I don't know where they got the information about where JJ Rod was whatsoever, but apparently they just anticipated that was going to be the invade pathing here. I think what happened was maybe they called for a red side invade here to look for information or to set up for Rift Herald. And what they found instead was that JJ Rod had not cleared that side of his jungle, so they're like, okay, we're going to look for it. The ward spots him out as he walks through, and they're like, all right, we're taking the free kill, we're taking the red, and we're taking the Rift Herald off the back of just a quick rotation from Anticipation. Again, expertise on the champion in the Rengar, but understanding specifically what the champion can do. Now mid lane skirmish.
He's got to run away again. J-Rod is going to have to flash over the wall. Anticipation was there to help. Big Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes across. That's huge. Petrifying Gaze on top of it. Putney's just trying to put in the damage. The Showstopper comes through and saves the day. Oh my goodness, double killed Anticipation. 5-0 already for Phoenix Carnage, and Carnage indeed, my friend.
Oh my goodness, Can't Carry almost baits his teammate right there with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. I thought for a second, my God, he was putting the damage down. Laurencio was in such a terrible situation. He had to flash out. The flash follows, and then immediately here comes Blase. He had the tower pushed in on the top side. He's able to make the roam happen a lot faster, and these stronger champions are just kind of winning the map right now. There is no competition that can be had from Recon 5, unfortunately, because the Rengar is ahead, because Laurencio is starting to get ahead, because Blase is dominating his lane matchup, and that's not looking good for the early game here against a team that honestly, like, if they get ahead early, their late game is also insanely strong.
It is, and that's that trickle down that I had mentioned or forementioned earlier. Just seeing the mobility come through from Blase, able to just the timing on everything was just perfect. And I do have to say, I think Putney got a little bit over eager. He used the Petrifying Gaze on an already stunned target and wasn't facing him. I feel like he did have the time. He still had flash, but he had the time to position to where he would get the prolonged stun. And I think that Laurent would have gone down. But because of how everything played out, he just wanted to get the burst damage down, get everything in as soon as he could. It just left it to where there was no longer a follow-up.
I think that was the trouble of the situation, was Putney trying to react very quickly to what was happening around him and not realizing the extent that the play could go to, especially if the communication isn't there from Can't Carry for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They have no idea that they're able to turn that fight completely. I will say that Ashe and the Karma working out very well in the bottom lane. They have a massive CS lead, about 25 over their opposition right now. They have the immediate parts of the damage source with that Blade of the Ruined King, and of course, when the CC starts to come through, it's tough for Ryze and Aphelios and Set and Rengar to approach if Ashe is constantly hitting you with slows, hitting you with these Ws, making it so you're unable to just walk in and do the damage that you're meant to. I think that's a big part of what we have to watch later.
Realm War coming in here. JJ's been waiting in the bush, but this is 4v3. This is take out gaming is coming through, but it's going to be their death. That's a huge ulti coming through. Moonlight Vigil is going to help out. Actually, not at all. It kind of whiffed there, but Anticipation was able to pick up the kill. Now Fakey Rush getting low, but they're going to chase down JJ. And that's going to be another kill going over now. It is looking a bit dire here for Recon 5.
They make the motion to the bottom side of the map, not only for the gank, but also for just priority on the bottom side. And JJ Rod, I don't think he might have got spotted out on that ward that's right behind them, and I think that was the problem after everything. Maybe Anticipation threw that down later, but clearly they had information about where JJ Rod's presence was, and Anticipation just absolutely demolishes him in the follow-up after the gang, not to mention Laurentian following up with that ultimate as well, and getting an advantage in the one lane where maybe they thought there was some pressure to come back from the side of Recon 5. Now they get their their first dragon. It's an Infernal Drake to set up this Rengar even better with that passive coming through and looking so strong. The Ryze is powerful. The Rengar is huge right now, and the Blade of the Ruined King means that Blase is never going to lose the 1v1 to Hibernation.
And right now, maybe it changes. But JJ has already assumed the role of Pillar Bot, and that is a bit unfortunate. He's also 3 levels down on Anticipation, so these objective control... Oh no. That's just going to be JJ. Actually, nice Pillar though. Nice Pillar. I like it. He gets out.
Yeah, he uses the smite and uses the pillar to make sure he can get away from Blase, but Blase's 4 levels ahead of him, man. Like, that's terrifying. He's 3 levels behind the jungle opponent, and with the way that jungle XP meter works, there is no catch-up anymore. See, JJ Rod is never going to catch him. That's never going to happen unless he gets a bunch of kills, and that's kind of seen around the map for the most part. This advantage seems almost insurmountable for the majority of this game. Phoenix, do you even want to contest that ward against the rank? If he decides you're dead, I'm pretty sure this
Oh no, though.
This
is it. That's all the CC you need. Putney was waiting in the wall, or waiting in the bush there, and beautiful Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes across from Can't Carry, and they're able to take down the Fed Rengar, so they get a kill for themselves, and that's a lot of gold as well.
I feel like maybe with Anticipation's ult and flash coming up, there could be another repeat gank bot lane coming soon after the Ashe Arrow, unfortunately for Can't Carry, but we'll see what kind of revenge he decides to enact on the rest of the map here. But again, good pick. Well done to get it onto Putney as well, getting one of these damage dealers ahead so they can play around him later. And Putney's really playing rather well. He's got a 2-wave advantage over top of the Ryze. The item spike has come through for the Seraphs already, so he's basically matching the itemization coming through for them. Actually doing a really good job with the 1v1 as well. Not too bad. Had a full combo just thrown onto him from Len Show and still ended up, I think, out-trading him in the end.
Yeah, that was actually pretty nicely done. That's going to be a Moonlight Vigil coming down here. Extra damage as well. Blase coming through. Big showstopper. He's going to come in with Breaker. And this is the WWE on Wednesday night. But a huge Petrifying Gaze is going to come across the board here. Brash has to flash out. Hibernation just trying to look to get away with his life. But the flash forward from Anticipation is going to pick up the kill. Here comes the Realm Warp. They're looking to chase down JJ. They are taking everything and more. 10-1 in favor of Phoenix Carnage. And they look to take the second tower of the game.
Man, I am just disgusted by this team's map rotations, constantly looking for fights over and over and over again. If it's not topside, if it's not the jungle, if it's not bottom lane, it's somewhere, because they're finding something, and they're pressing these champions to their absolute maximum. When you have mastery, and you understand what your champion's capabilities are, especially when you have advantages like this, you're never afraid to press them, and I think that's the one thing a lot of teams don't always do right, is take an advantage and press it to get even more. And they're doing that so well in this one. Anticipation, constantly putting pressure in the jungle and in these side lanes. Blase is literally everywhere on this set right now. Lorenzo always supporting the fights as well. And your Aphelios and your Lulu not looking hot at the moment, but when this neutral and this ambient gold starts to flood into them, they're probably going to get a chance to start checking some of these champions on Recon 5 as well.
And we have crested that 15-minute mark here in this game with a 6K gold lead in favor of Phoenix Carnage, and they are looking set to close the series out. But I mean, it's still very early, and the gold lead is not insurmountable. I think there are some very good pieces coming across. I think the biggest thing, as you had pointed out, is Can't Carry still feeling pretty good on this Ashe. Is doing pretty well in CS as well, and it's going to be how you incorporate that into the team fights, because as I said, JJ is just not able to really do anything at this moment. Still that 3-level lead on the jungler, or the deficit on the jungler, and it's just trying to find a way to help his team get some kills in their belts.
I do like the way Can't Carry's been playing. I think the Ashe is going to be good for team fighting, and these arrows have been immaculate. I think being able to capitalize on the arrows is huge, because it's kind of variant as to whether the Ashe hits them. And so far, I don't think Can't Carry has actually missed a single arrow the whole game, and he's been able to hit them from a very large distance, so I can believe in that at least. My big fear is I don't think Can't Carry will exist once Anticipation starts to get mortality under his belt. This is a 110 farm at 16-minute Rengar with 5 kills. This is a level 10 Rengar. He's a level ahead of this Ashe right now, and I'm terrified that all it takes is one good rotation, even through a Karma Shield, to remove him from the map. And if it's not him, it's Putney, and if it's not either of those two, it's probably anyone, because he has enough damage. Never mind.
Laurent's I was gonna say he's just gonna have to try and pick some, flashes over the wall. The slow there coming through. Realm Warp isn't going to be enough. He gets out. Oh my goodness. He gets out. And that's another dragon being started up here for Phoenix, as looking to take the Ocean Dragon. It is an Ocean Soul this time as well, Recon, Rebel Fox 4. Potentially Recon 5, I guess, if they want it. But holy cow, the commitment there from the roll. You got to like it.
You do. I'm really confused as to why JJ ended up stopping there, because at one point it looked like he was chasing down Lorenzo. He was running down and then stopped, turned around, and then turned back around when he realized Can't Carry was there, and that allowed the Rise like Realm Warp to come through immediately. I think if JJ Rod had continued running directly at the Rise, he would have at least forced him to make some fancy footwork to get in and out of the Rise ultimate without getting hit by the Ashe or the Trundle. Or he might have actually gotten the kill, because obviously he didn't have the pillar to disrupt or CC the champion. So I don't know, maybe he just gave up prematurely there, but it looked like there was some pressure to be had still.
Well, one thing I do have to point out, and maybe this is kind of running through his head, is I think the confidence is definitely taking it. And I don't think that that's a good thing when you're playing a Trundle. You got to have some confidence to run in there and commit to the target and figure something out. And at this point, I don't think he does. He also has a 4-level deficit on the roll. So, like, if he saw that going into this fight, now we're going to see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow miss this time, as well as the Petrifying Gaze. They could still have the damage, but man, this dude has some zoomies. And he's going to be able to actually get taken down, shut down onto Putney. Going to be able to get some gold in that Snake's pocket bag, I guess. I don't know what I was going with that. But we're going to see Blase still pressuring this top lane, still able to put a lot of damage on it, and potentially going to be responded to here by Phoenix and Hibernation.
Yeah, the play on bottom side, once again, showing just how good Can't Carry is on this Ashe, utilizing these ultimates, almost tags Lorenzo, and I actually think his turning back was what killed him in the end. The phase rush slow resistance did help him out, and Blase might be looking for a hibernation. Actually doesn't get him this time because of the really good Bilge War Blade of the Ruin King usage there.
Greatly timed there. It's always scary when you use your clone, because you can get face breakered with it, and that automatically applies the stun once he runs through there. So definitely have to watch that out. But good job by Hibernation there. The thing now is you've just contested so much pressure around the map. It's so hard to really get out and farm effectively and safely. And especially here in this top lane is what I'm looking at, is the Blase just putting on so much aggression. He's taking the Krugs every time he can. He's able to just force them to keep their eye up here, which means you aren't looking at the objective as readily. You're not looking at all this stuff that's going on around the rest of the map. And the CS leads are starting to get really crazy here. We almost have a flame horizon for anticipation here over JJ.
Yeah, the top lane, I think, is a little bit more controlled with only about 35-40 right here, and actually winning in the bottom lane and in the mid lane with the 30 and or 20 and 30 respectively between those two roles. My big problem, yet again, is the fact that, while yes, Blase and Anticipation aren't champions that can fight from range or are really spectacular team fighters, removing a lot of the threat. Yeah, that is Putney, that is can't carry from the fight ahead of time, is what these guys will do better than anything. I will say, I don't like Hibernation's choice of the Blade of the Rune King here. I think Black Cleaver would have honestly just been a better choice in general. Not only is it the movement speed and the armor shred to potentially take duels, but more specifically, it's better to set up can't carry and JJ Rod's damage as the fight continues. I know maybe the Ashe isn't the perfect target to shred armor for, but that would have been the thought. Now, I will also point out right now, it is Phoenix Carnage slowly pushing this vision up with the combination of Laurentiel and Rengar and anybody else trying to take away the shallow river warding from the side of Recon 5 so that this river control is completely in their favor. And it's a really, really crippling style that's hard to counteract if you're on the side of Recon 5, especially when you cannot really push up far or take any sort of engagement at the moment.
Well, and another thing, as I was just looking at our timers here, yeah, Hibernation, my goodness, that one punch just did like a quarter of his health. That's just nuts. Rift Herald's going to go down. What I was going to mention is we do have a dragon coming up in about a minute or so. And if you thought the Mountain Dragon was super crucial last game, it was super pivotal, it did have a lot, maybe not the most effect, but it did have a lot of effect. The Ocean Dragon is going to be where you're looking at to have all that beautiful bounty come through for yourself. They start up the Baron here, though.
I don't think they were expecting the control word in the back of the pit, so they immediately just ran away from it. I did really like the call because the thing is, Recon 5 likely would have had to slow push vision into their bottom, their top or their blue side quadrant here, and that would have meant that they were looking for the dragon. And so a quick take with a Ryze, a very fed Rengar, a Lulu, and a Phelios would have been certainly on the cards for this team. Unfortunately, that one piece of information coming through from Recon 5 is enough to dissuade them. Now they're pulling the opposite card. Instead of playing on the other side of the map, they're playing to their strong side of the map where there's some shallow warding. They have to contest it. They're going to look to pick. Now, okay, they're going to shove up mid-wave. They should be able to get the Ocean Drake for free. It doesn't look like Recon 5 is going to contest whatsoever. And now, Soul Point on the board for a team that is excessively ahead.
They waited so long in that book. I give them some props on being able to hold their mouth steady. There was nobody even nearby, really, so like, nothing was ever going to happen, but at least they're willing to make those plays. But the thing is with this Soul Point, you can do so much around the map. They still have to at least contest you for the next dragon. You aren't just going to give that Ocean Soul away for free, or maybe you are. I mean, you never know. I guess they gave away the Mountain Dragon Soul for free last time. But it really puts an effect in the map where you have to think about all this stuff, and Blase was looking to go in onto Hibernation there. Luckily, he's pretty quick to get away, but it's just so hard to climb up this mountain right now. It's looking like a very steep and sharp hill, and their pieces are there to get you started, but it's the gold that bothers me at this moment, and the gold on the right members especially.
The gold is really, I think it is bothersome. We do see almost the Flame Horizon in the jungle. The 40 CS, the advantage sticking around for the most part here in the top lane as well, so really not getting much. And the real problem is we will see a team fight that could, like in theory at least, go the same way of Recon 5 with the right members being involved, but at this point, as you said, I think that gold advantage going the opposite direction is what's really troublesome to me, especially if that Ocean Soul comes through. I don't think you kill Ryze with an Ocean Soul anytime soon. Did bypass the Seraphs, went directly into the likes of that Spellbinder, so it's team fight oriented. They're going to find Blase.
Yeah, they're going to get a nice little showstopper in there. That's a lot of damage, though. He's down. Now it's going to be the flash from Anticipation. He gets in there, uses the smite as well to get health back for himself. Hibernation is going to get stunned up, though. Fakey Rush coming through. He's going to get his first kill of the game in that one. Moonlight Vigil is going to go way wide, though. Maybe not that one. As they did catch out Hibernation in the Baron Pit, who was looking for a little bit of flank. Now we see a flank coming through. That's a Realm Orb. Doesn't go very far, though. As yeah, it's probably a good decision not to go all the way in like that. But they're going to continue to press into the enemy jungle here, looking for this mid lane tower potentially.
I will say, I apologize to anyone in the audience who decided to blink during that millisecond that it took to Blase off, because it was pretty much instantaneous. The fact, I think in one instant, in like a second or 2 seconds, Blase had gotten CC'd, died. Pillar came down behind Anticipation. Ashe ult hit Anticipation. He cleansed it with W, flashed over the wall, and that was 1 second. That was 1 second of fighting all at once. So I apologize for anybody who missed that short bit of very intense action that we saw. Really, really close, good play across the board. Very close for Putney to be able to pick up another kill or two, or even potentially Can't Carry, who ended up getting the kill onto Blase. So once again, the carries on the side of Recon 5 are picking up the kills where necessary. Yeah. The problem again is if Anticipation gets caught out with an arrow like that, you got to capitalize, you got to shut him down. They can't do it. They don't get that done. And in those fights, if he gets to your backline, he kills whoever he gets to, which is the real fear here from the side of Recon 5.
Exactly that. And there is some solace here, though. I mean, I'm looking at the 240, 250 farm Ash, as well as the Cassiopeia. Now we're going to see a TP come through onto Phoenix. That's going to be a huge prison, and that's Phoenix going down. Now they're going to look to follow it up. Anticipation with the double jumps. Why not? Going through, trying to just get as much damage as he can. Wanted to get onto the Ash, but luckily the tower is there to save the day. And the 5-man roaming Death Ball is just going to walk out of the jungle here.
It's just that like little double skip and checkers right there. He like
that's exactly the thought that went into my head.
Yeah, it's what it looked like. Is that or Frog or one of the two references here? But I mean,
button clicks though. That's gotta be so quick.
You think that's the case? Okay, there's competition, but there's no vision here, so they're kind of walking in black back.
That was a really nice. Yeah. Oh, the flash over the wall. That's gonna be a lot of damage. Cyclone. Now the huge showstopper onto Hibernation, but the damage isn't there. Blase is left in the pit with Putney, Can't Carry, and his doom. And that is a double kill for Putney, getting all the gold in the right places. 3 members go down for 1 in favor of Recon 5, and this is the comeback. This is the crawlback that we're looking for. And I was highlighting a little bit before, the gold on these carries, on Putney, on Can't Carry, is really starting to show through. They're going to be on their 3rd items. They're going to have those power spikes, and it is really coming together right now for them.
I will say, I think at the beginning of that fight, that could have been a lot worse from the side of Phoenix Carnage, because we talked about Blase just immediately getting pillared off and then like tanking the Ash Arrow from point blank. Had that Ash Arrow not been shotgunned right to the face of Blase, I think it was pretty much in line to Laurencio on the backside of the pit, and that would have meant that the fight probably would have gone up a lot faster, and they could have got damage onto the rise, rather than focusing through this Blase who throws up the Haymaker, and that would have been a lot different of a fight, which would have easily gone the way of Recon 5 and maybe taken away another one of those damage dealers. And good fight, picks up a couple more kills for Putney, who is doing rather well. The problem is now you have Baron to worry about here. And
Hibernation no, Hibernation. Oh, he goes back. He's still dead. So he was like, I'm gonna get to the last one. So I'm gonna get to the last. Oh no, it's over. It's over. So now the question is, how do you contest this? They're just going to go for it. They say, power down the dragon. Let's get it going. Let's get it done. The showstopper comes through there for Blase. JJ's still in the pit. He dies before the smite goes down. So that's Soul going over. Now the fight is so hard to continue. And the choice here for Phoenix is to pull off and push down this mid lane and try to get the inhib here. And they're going to force the backs out of the remaining members for Recon 5. Here comes the Realm War.
I think the problem in that fight right there, first off, you don't have the engagement from Hibernation, which is a big loss. The second one was that there were 3 members, Laurencio, Fakey, and Brash, who are able to hold back Can't Carry, Putney, and Phoenix, which means JJ was stuck in the Dragon Pit on his own against Anticipation and Blase, and there's too much damage on those two to worry about, especially on Blase, because of the fact that the Rengar was focusing the Dragon, and JJ's just getting shredded by this set. So he throws out a Desperation Smite way too early, ends up dropping it to 1,000 before he dies, and ends up just giving away the Dragon, because his team can't follow in. They can't actually access the fight with the strength of Laurencio just forcing them away.
He gets rooted there. The Moonlight Vigil just comes out immediately. Here comes the TP, though, just to get them off of the tower here. The Cannon Minion's still going to be fighting away, though. But honestly, it's just been good movements, and we've said it before, and I'll say it again, from Phoenix. I just think they've been so fluid around the map, and it's been working out beautifully for them. And now JJ tried to get a good pillar there. Putney was able to back up a little bit of damage, but they weren't able to get the lockdown that they were looking for. And now they just have an open base here. They're going to be in some trouble. Petrifying Gaze is going to stop Laurent from coming in. Beautiful Haymaker as well coming through for Blase. And the AoE, the siege damage, is just melting the health bars from Recon 5. And with this Ocean buff, they just can continue. They don't have to stop. They're just going to continue to siege potentially. Now, it looks like we're seeing pings down towards the bot side. So they want to just get all 3 of these inhibs and really put the pressure and the onus on Recon 5.
The kill shot I don't think is readily available here from the side of Phoenix Carnage, but certainly, again, when you're pressuring in multiple lanes at once, if you throw the Rise in the set in opposite lanes and you're able to push with 3 members, it's really, really difficult to stop them either way. And so that's kind of what they were doing there, is they split up the pressure across the map. They end up getting 2 inhibitors, and they burn all the way down to the inhibitor, or the inhibitor tower on the bottom side as well. So plenty of area to work with. The Rengar is still a massive threat. Lorenzo is becoming a big threat. Blase is humongous in this game with the Death Stance completed already, and even your Aphelios, who hasn't really picked up all too much in these fights, is now on 3 items with the Infinity Edge and Double Zeal. So this team looks way too scary, and I don't think Recon 5 wins a fight fast enough to actually take anything. Putney is strong, Can't Carry is strong, but yet again, their damage is rather lacking compared to where the game state is at, and I think because of that, Putney won't be able to burn through Blase and Anticipation and Lorenzo and Fakey before the fight is over, without getting, just melted by one of these massive damages. That's the part that I'm at. It's not necessarily that Recon 5 can't win this game. It's that they don't have the gold to fight back.
And that's honestly the same story of game 1 too, I feel like. And that's just a bit of a feels bad for sure. Now, we are going to see the siege continue onto this bot side tower, potentially with the Aphelios being able to do a lot of damage there, but you have to be careful because it does seem like the Rengar and the Rise are setting something up on the side there. Blase used the Haymaker just a little bit wholeheartedly there. It's just so hard at this point, Rebel, because they take this damage. 5 seconds later, it's all gone. It's like nothing even happened. And you're looking at the side of Recon 5, and the damage is sticking. They have to back, they have to walk away, and then their base just gets blown open. So it's just such a hard time to defend.
Makes it even harder. Again, you talk about the damage from Putney and Can't Carry. It's high, but it's not high enough to kill them anyway, let alone with this Ocean Soul making it so difficult for them to burn through. Like I said, he could be sitting there for 10, 15 seconds hitting somebody with ease and Twin Fangs and Qs, and it wouldn't matter because the damage just isn't there quite yet.
This is going to be it, though. Subjugate went out. That's a big showstopper in the back. Blase going to get a huge face breaker as well. Going to follow it up. Everyone of the ability is going to land beautifully, and everyone is running with their tails between their legs here back to the base, trying to defend. You still have Laurent, you still have Fakey putting down the damage onto the towers, but again, it's going to be hard to finish this off without the Baron buff at this point, but it could just be Can't Carry getting caught out here. Laurent's going to continue it. He has so much damage, but he's getting traded back onto. He's not getting any help from his team. He's just trying to take the 1v2. He takes the trade, though. And that's now going to be the focus on Anticipation. He's going to go down, shut down onto Putney, who's still racking up the gold for himself. And if there's one saving grace in this game, it is 100% Putney.
I agree wholeheartedly. The Cassiopeia, even in game 1, Putney played some spectacular League of Legends. Not even that Lorenzo necessarily wasn't playing his heart out as well on these 2 champions. It's more so just that Putney has been an absolute rock for Recon 5. And again, it's kind of a shame that he doesn't have this massive 1v5 damage dealer that he can just win a game on at the moment, or at least feels like he can't win v5 on, because really he could be doing it at this point with the way that he's been playing. Now, they're going to try with Darren. They got the damage for him. My question is, can they contest? Because Blase's on his way. Anticipation and Lorenzo are huge, though. This is going to be big. They can win this 3v3.
This is going to be a big fight. This could change the momentum of the game. Phoenix already getting brought down here. TP, big showstopper into the back on the TP is going to be the name of the game. Petrifying Gaze came out, but it was not enough. Blase is still in the back line. Huge so much. Putney flashes out to get away. And that is just going to be it. TP's going into the base. Phoenix say, we want the Nexus, and we want it now.
Blase is trying to get this tower for himself. I think he gets it, but I don't think he gets the win quite yet, because Putney's going to make his way back. But there's 5 members on the way, and the Baron buff is not going to be enough to stop them. I think this is just it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Putney just doesn't have the damage there. Moonlight Vigil's going to come out, but it is too little too late. That is going to be Phoenix Carnage picking up this series. 2 wins in a row, and just a dominating performance getting towards the end of the season here, Rebel.
Really exceptional stuff coming through from the side of Phoenix Carnage. This is a team that currently sits in 3rd, 4th, and honestly, they made a first-place team almost look silly here tonight. Their dominance cannot be understated. Blase had good games. Anticipation had 2 great games. Their bottom lane did really well. Lorenzo did really well. All across the board, this is one of the stronger teams I think I've seen in the UCL. And again, they sat in 2nd, but that did not feel like a 2nd place versus a 1st place game. That felt very heavily like a very definitive win on their part.
It really did, and it's just so hard because there were those moments of brightness for Recon 5, and there were parts where you were like, okay, this is it. Like, especially in this last game, it really felt like they were starting to pull it together with getting Putney all the kills, getting all the gold to his pockets, but it just didn't really come together in the end. So I'm really hoping to see a better performance next time from Recon 5, show us why they are at the top of the standings, because this was definitely not the day that they were showing that. And just a great performance from Phoenix Carnage, being able to carry this and use this as momentum to continue the season and really vie for that top spot.
That's for sure. And the way they played tonight made them look like they absolutely were insane. At least the way that we saw them perform against one of the top teams, especially when they get their preferred picks. You saw in game number one, obviously the Olaf came out. Oh, this is the final week. Okay, I was curious if this was the final week or not because there are 8 teams per division. And I don't know why I've been saying the second, but that was the last game of the week. So we'll see how this group lands, because I believe all 4 of the top teams in Infernal were locked for playoffs. It's just about where. But Phoenix Carnage certainly turned it on at the very end when they needed it. The momentum they look like they have coming into the playoff race. Again, anticipation on the Olaf and the Rengar looked absolutely insane. Laurencio and Blase on their set and their rise, it just dumbfounded me.
And that's just nuts. And that's what I was kind of highlighting at the beginning of this. Like when we were talking about going into playoffs, these kind of things, you really want to put your best foot forward. You want to show why there needs to be specific bans. Mm-hmm. They need to prep for you and why they should be scared. And if anything, Phoenix Carnage gave us all the proof on the table and just laid it out, took a big old highlighter and like, hey, this is what you need to focus on.
And what's crazy is I think Phoenix Carnage, I mean, they came out in game 1, they first picked the Olaf, and then game 2, they were able to wait on the Rengar somehow and still didn't have it banned out because it was a little bit lost in the sauce on the side of Recon 5. Not to say that they had themselves a bad performance. I don't think JJ Rod looks completely acclimated to the team. I know they were swapping junglers from who they had to start with, but Putney looked really good. Tank Carry's Ashe looked immaculate. I'm surprised they weren't able to make anything happen. It looked really good. And even Hibernation had his moments, I think, in the laning phase. It's just the early game went so poorly in game number 2, and even game number 1 didn't look like spectacular. He just kept getting poked out of the laning phase, that it felt like maybe he was just getting a little bit kind of tilted during the laning phase or something along those lines, because it was tough for him to have the kind of impact he needed in either game.
For sure. Well, folks, that is going to be it from us here today. It has been an absolute pleasure to cast alongside you, Rebel. We had Phoenix Carnage take this series, this best of 3, 2-0, with some immaculate performances in both games, honestly. And thank you all so much for everyone for tuning in. I want to give a special shout out to Nightclaw, who's been doing the production all night. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you as well. And we'll have to see you next time, folks. And have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.
Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up, baby. Tonight we gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
just walk right out the door. Don't wanna do this anymore. Now I'm lost without you. You drive me crazy out my mind. How'd you do this every time? Now I'm lost without you. Used to be